Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motivate You here on the Winner's Circle. My guy, I've known this young man for such a long time. We go back music days when we were in the trenches, creating music and putting our stamp on the music business. Please welcome to the show, Cisco. Cisco, brother, how you doing, man?
I'm great, June, man. It's such a pleasure and blessing, man, to be here with you. It's exciting, man, because I like you said, man, we know each other so long. You know what I'm saying? You always been Big Brother June, so now even seeing you in this part of or phase of your career is dope. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I appreciate it, man. I want to go back some time, man. I want us to go back in time. When we were young and trying to get our feet wet in this thing called the music business. For me, I started out as a recording artist. You were a producer. You getting your hands and knees dirty in the production and bringing things to life. For you, how has the game changed from when you started years ago to where you see it now?
I mean, everything has changed. When I started, social media wasn't what it was. You know what I mean? So, when you created records, it was like you almost kind of had to have an intent, whether it
Hmm.
was like I'm making a record for artists for specifically for radio or specifically for the album. It affected the creative process because at the end of the day, sometimes artists come to you with a specific need. So nowadays, I don't think anybody makes records anymore for any particular format of marketing and promotions, or just for an album. I think now you make records in hopes that they just catches fire virally. You know what I mean? Because that seems to be what sets the trends these days. So it's just night and day. You know what I mean? And it's also like I never made records for for money, or I
Hmm.
never made records because I wanted like a number one hit or whatever. I loved music. It was just a passion, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to make records, and then I wanted to make records, with the artists I wanted to make records with. So, it's just, for all those elements, man, it's just way different now.
Now, if you want to be great at something, even if you just want to be good at something, they tell you to kind of emulate those who do it and do it well. For you, who were some of your mentors or who was your inspiration while you were creating these records?
You know, I'll be honest. Look, I remember. I guess the first person that really inspired me was Dame Dash, right?
Mm,
And it wasn't so much as a record producer. I just admired his business acumen. At a young age, I knew I wanted to make records, but past that, I already saw past that. Even at a young age, I was like, I want to make records, and I want to be like, a record label owner or a CEO, and I want to open up this kind of business and diversify and do this kind of business. So a lot of people, oh, don't get me wrong, Jay-Z's still my favorite artist, you know. Um, Shout out to everybody at Rock Nation, OG Juan, Rob, everybody. But growing up young, really, I was a big Dame Dash fan, and I kind of aspired to be like him, until ironically one day, I, you know, I moved and I lived next door to him, and he was my neighbor, for
mm.
2 years, and then once sharing elevators with him and just being around him, like in the building, I, you know, that's a side story, but I always tell people be careful who you admire because you might meet him one day, and then you may not admire him anymore, So
Right. It may not live up to the expectation that you had prior to
yeah,
that.
man,
that
he wasn't the coolest dude in the world. You know what I mean? So yeah, that affected the way I kind of looked at him, and then any other person I looked up to at that point. It kind of changed my expectations. But yeah, originally it was Dane who I looked up to.
Now, I want to talk about the importance because you know how to really move and shake in this business. We've been at events where I see you work a room. while I'm working a room. I'm on one end, you're on the other end. We come together, we cheers. How important is it for someone who is trying to get into music, television, radio, even if they're trying to become a lawyer, doctor? How important is networking in terms of trying to get to the next level and creating the opportunities to actually bring you money?
I mean, well, you probably asking the right guy, because I definitely got to be upfront and honest about the fact that I built my entire career off of networking. You know what I mean? I didn't go to school for any of this stuff, you know. So it was really like ground level, you know, and working my way from there. And initially, you know, I was young, getting into the industry, and nobody wanted to give me an opportunity, like especially like other guys. You know what I'm saying? I was 6'4", I had a certain look, you know what I mean? Kind of like a ladies' man type of vibe. So other dudes in record companies and producers and anybody that would meet out and about, they didn't really want to do anything for me. So, you know, or try to help me out for whatever reason. So my favor came, you know, from meeting like really cool women in the industry, you know. And I started as a bodyguard for free, you know. I used to bodyguard DJ Jazzy Joyce. That was like my first industry job. You know what I mean? And then from there, shout out to DJ Jazzy Joyce, you know, and I had to earn my stripes with that, because I caught some serious, you know, confrontations bodyguarding her, you know what I mean? And had to scrap and do a lot of stuff to kind of earn my stripes with her. And then from there, she introduced me to Crystal Isaacs, who was a director at she so then Joyce introduced me to Crystal Isaacs, who was a director at Atlantic Records, and was like, yo, you know, I heard you do good work, you know, why don't you come bodyguard me when I'm running around showcases and stuff. And, you know, so that's how I kind of worked my way from there, you know, and just, so it was all networking, but also like a lot of just grinding, willing to do whatever it took just to be in those rooms that you're
Right,
talking about.
right,
Because getting in those rooms, you know, wasn't easy in the beginning, because it was like, who are you trying to get in this party? So those were my entry points to getting into those rooms, going in with Jazzy Joyce, going in with Crystal Isaac, and then from there, you know, working my way to becoming Cisco. You know what I'm saying? Right? I could just go my own, you know, before TV and all that.
right. Now, there's levels to it, right? Meek Mills talks about these levels. During the levels, right? You talk about Jazzy Joyce, shout out to Jazzy, Crystal Isaacs, good friend of mine as well. When you're going through those levels, so right, there's trials, there's tribulations. Like you said, you had to scrap. There are times where you're gonna get a lot of no's instead of yeses. No matter who you're working with or who you're working for, how were you able to combat some of that negativity, some of that resistance, to be able to see your way through that particular level before you even get to Cisco?
Well, that's look, you gotta have dreams and goals, right?
Mm,
You know, but without a plan, you know, your goal is just a dream. You get what I'm saying? So my plan was like, I know where I want to go. I know I want to make music. I know I want to be on television and act and do other, like, I knew I wanted to do all of these things. But I also was realistic and, you know, extremely pragmatic about it, about that
mm,
process. Because I knew that it wasn't going to come overnight. And I knew I was going to have to do way more things for free than I would get paid for in the beginning of it, you know? So, but it was all I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Growing up, I just wanted it to be an entertainment. I knew that from a very young age. And I said to myself, well, good, bad, or ugly, I'll be happier trying to do what I want to do than doing something else that I don't want to do consistently and making a living, but being unhappy every day doing that. Because I knew a lot of people growing up, adults that just will go to work and complain about their jobs complain about getting up and going to that job, complain when they get home. Like, yeah, I hate that job. Oh man, I can't wait till Friday comes. And I used to always say to them, it's crazy, right? But I used to always say to myself, well, if you keep looking forward to Friday, right, just so you can enjoy a piece of your life, which is the weekend, then before you know it, your life's gonna pass you by, and you're not gonna really enjoy much of it because you're only looking forward to a smaller part of that week, which is the weekend, right? Because you don't like what you do during the weekend. You spend more time doing what you do than anything else.
Right.
But once I started to see that, I was like, yo, whatever it takes, I'm going to just stay consistent until I make it or make something of it.
Now, you and I were talking the other day, real candidly, about the perspective, right? Perspective of being an entrepreneur and owning something versus working for someone and always having to be under someone who owns it, who may not necessarily want you. There's no disrespect, but you'll never make the amount of money they make because this is their idea. This is their dream. I want you to tap in for those who are watching and listening today, who are trying to make that move, right? We're at the end of 2020 and they're really trying to figure out, man, I want to get to the next level. I want to start my own business. I want to start my own company, my own clothing line. I want to get into film and television. Talk us through that perspective.
Well, the first thing I say is, I spent years in the business just focusing on making money, whether it's through music production or, on television as a personality or whatever it was. I spent years kind of with the mindset, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get paid. I'm going to do this and I'm going to get paid. And then what I realized was at a certain point when I got around people like, Juan Perez, who was a CEO of Rock Nation, also owns 40/40 and all those other brands with Jay-Z. I started getting around certain moguls that were just like on a whole nother level. And then or even Mona Scott, who I'm partners with now in my film and TV company. When I had the benefit of being able to ascend and be around moguls, and I started to realize, like, they became who they are because they decided to own what it was that they were selling or own what it was that they were doing. They had equity in their businesses. So every time I'm working to go do something for VH1, at the end of the day, I'm getting a paycheck, but VH1 is a corporation. They're making a lot more for whatever we're contributing than we are. So, I started to turn that corner and say, well, you know what, from now on, moving forward, everything I do, I got to be a part of it as a business owner, as an equity owner, and for that, you got to be willing to sacrifice. You got to be willing to put your own money in, and you got to find comfort in sacrifice, because a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to just go keep their money in their pocket and go work and get a paycheck. But what happens when they take that paycheck from you? What do you left with? Because you don't own the business that you work for. So, I kind of took a step away from, trying to be extremely overtly, ostentatious and being out there and flashing, all the nicest cars and jewelry and all the other, nonsense. I took a step away from that and said, you know what, let me start to invest in the things I believe in, and I changed my perspective because in order for me to be that next Dame Dash, for me to be that next Mona Scott, for me to be that next Juan Perez, next entrepreneur mogul on that level, I've got to be willing to do that, So that's kind of where I'm at now.
And it takes sacrifice, right? So, you don't get to that next level without trying to figure out the moves that are made 3 or 4 steps ahead, but just the sacrifice is super important. And when we talk about sacrifice, I want to talk about your pivot. I think your pivot is super important because you were able to reinvent yourself. And then we had the opportunity to see you on the Love and Hip Hop platform, right? Talk to us about how that opportunity even came about.
Well, look, at the time, it was almost taboo. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't want to, like, this was the mindset of the other artists and producers and people in the industry because it was new. You know, I jumped on Love and Hip Hop. People don't realize it. First cameo I did was 2012. I jumped on as a full cast member 2013. So I'm like one of the. I'm right at kind of at the beginning, you know. So back then it was just like it wasn't massively cool to go on that show, right? It had this reception, but the thing what I saw was opportunity because I said, you know, having the benefit and the experience of working with the different record companies from Def Jam to, you know, Rock La Familia to Atlantic Records and all these companies, and then also being the president of an independent label after all that, having the benefit of those experiences, I realized that the marketing and promotional dollars for artists and albums were just shrinking more and more and more. So I said, if there's no real viable way to go out there and market and promote artists and the things that you're doing because all that money's shrinking, right? Then I said to myself, I got to find another way to go out there and market and promote things, products, music, myself. And when I saw Love and Hip Hop, I saw past Love and Hip Hop. I saw a machine called Viacom that was going to push those episodes every week, like how labels will push albums or drop albums every week, right? And run promotion. But instead of promotion on radio, it was promotion on television, which is those commercials, right? You know, and so I saw that and I said, you know what? I'm down. When everybody else around me looked at me crazy, right? I could literally tell you artists that were my friends, and I'm like, yo, I'm about to go do this. And they're like, nah, you bugging, man. Don't go do that. You crazy. And that's something else I tell people. Always listen to yourself, better yourself, listen to your gut.
Yes.
Because I said, all right, it's cool. That's your opinion. I shouldn't do it. Cool. Well, I'm going to do it anyway because that's what I want to do. And I see the benefit in the long term. And I went and did it. And then some of those same people, exact same people that kind of gave me like negative feedback or criticism for jumping on the platform, years later, I seen them on it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm like, whoa, wait, what happened to you a couple years ago? You told me, oh yeah, man, you know, this shit blew up. And it's just like, it's a testimony to why you just don't listen to people, man. You know, listen to yourself, listen to your gut, believe in yourself, and bet on yourself. You know, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be the guy that misses an opportunity because you listen to somebody else. You know, that if they get that opportunity, they're gonna run. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Has there ever been an opportunity that you slept on, or you took that person's advice only to later say, man, I should have listened to myself?
Yeah, I think that happens all the time to this day, even in my personal life. You know what I mean? There's always, you know, you always want to try to hear people out, especially people that are close, family and friends. You know, you want to kind of, you know, engage and try to find value in what people tell you. But like I said, at the end of the day, I've always kind of been the person that I find peace when, whether win, lose, or draw, I find peace in the fact of, you know, of knowing that that decision came from me rather than me listening to somebody else, right? That might be more difficult to chew on every day if something, you know, happened with a situation or something, you know, didn't work out, and it's because I listened to somebody else, you know. So I'm always willing to hear people out, but for the most part, you know, I try to run my own race. You know what I mean?
What's your process though, Cisco, for you? Like, where do you go? How do you go through trying to figure out what is the best possible situation for you in terms of what your next steps are? Like, you know, some people, they pray, some people meditate, some people take a drive, they put on a particular song and they vibe out. For you, what is your process to kind of, not really business moves, but just personal things that daily you're just trying to, you know what, let me just sleep on that, let me figure this out? Like, how do you come to terms with making those tough decisions?
I mean, it might sound a little cliche, but for me, it's like I always look at what I love first, what I love to do, what I'm interested in, what I'm engaged in. You know what I mean? Naturally, without the intent of trying to make money from it, right? And because I sometimes talk to kids and they'll ask me that and say, oh, you know what? How do I figure out what I want to do in my life? And I always say, well, the first thing you should do is just ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing for free, just for nothing, like whatever that is. If you enjoy listening to music a lot, then maybe that might be something, or whatever the case may be. So I always start with what um, where my heart is, whatever I'm passionate about, right? And then if I feel like I have the determination behind that passion to go and try to create a business there or be a part of a business within that particular passion, then I'll just go all in, and just do everything I got to do to try to make that successful, and that way, if it doesn't work out, I can say, well, it was something I was really passionate about.
Right.
But I think when you go into things that you're not passionate about, yeah, you can make money with it, but at the end of the day, if you don't make money and you lose, then now you got to sit with the fact that you just did something just to make money and it didn't work out. And like I said, for me, I like to have peace at night, knowing that no matter what, I made a decision from a good place.
There were a lot of people that are going through some tough times. This year we had to rough it out with COVID. People losing their jobs, people losing loved ones, and just dealing with everything that has kind of hit us in terms of racial divide. For someone who's looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, throughout your journey, has there been a piece of advice that you could share with someone that could allow them to finish the race, keep their head up, and put a smile on their face that you could share with them right now?
Love yourself first.
Mm.
It took me a long time to realize that. Probably like recently, because I spent so much of my life and my career thinking about others around me. And then when those people that you do or live your life to try to help, support, or be there for, when they find themselves in positions where they may not need you anymore, then you can start to, really feel unhappy with yourself and in your life, right? So that's probably, in these crazy times, that's probably the best piece of advice I can give anybody going through any type of adversity, or just, even if it's not adversity, just waking up and feeling, depressed or down or whatever because of the circumstances and what's going on outside and social distancing and everything else. Try to figure out and find ways to love yourself more. You know what I mean? Because that'll keep you afloat, is what I'm realizing, and I'm trying to put into practice for myself. You know what I'm saying? So that would definitely be the one thing I would say.
No, I love it. I love it. So I've been playing this game, man, with a lot of my guests, and right now I want to take a minute just to put you in the game real quick, and get your opinion on this game. It's called University of Dope. I've been playing it. An amazing game. For those who don't have it, make sure you go get it. Universityofdope.com. So I'm just gonna hit you with a couple of joints right now. Let's do it, Cisco. The greatest diss song of all time. Is it A, Hit 'Em Up by Tupac, B, Ether Nas, C, No Vaseline Ice Cube, or D, Second Round Knockout by Cannabis?
All good records, but I don't think anything had the lyrical impact of Ether. Ether. I remember when Ether dropped, and it was just different. You know what I mean? Hit 'Em Up changed the culture, but Ether became the first diss record that was extremely lyrical. You know what I mean? So yeah, that would be my choice.
All right. The best Thug Love collaboration. Is it
Best
A,
Thug Love collaborations?
Always on Time, Ja Rule featuring Ashanti, You're All I Need, Meth featuring Mary, C, What's It Gonna Be, Buster featuring Janet Jackson, or
Ah,
D, Best of Me, the remix with Maya featuring Jay-Z.
Yes, y'all and Jigga Man be balling. Leave chicks pigeon toes. Some of them be crawling. Hov, man. You gotta get the best of you whenever I put my all in. Have mommy calling for the Lord. Darling. You know what I mean? Jigga Man Paul. Yeah, it definitely
All
shout
right.
out to Hov and Maya. You know what I mean?
All right.
But yeah.
All right. So if these four MCs were on the same track today, who would come out on top? A, LL Cool J, B, Rakim, C, KRS-One, or D, Big Daddy Kane?
It's a trick question, man, because they all do things a little different. But I would probably have to lean on Rakim because he's kind of the godfather of it all. And I think most, rappers would say the same thing. You know what I'm saying? You got to give it to Rakim.
Okay. Stay in your lane. Stop trying to sing. A, Wyclef. B, Lil Wayne. C, Ja Rule, or D, Drake?
This is a funny one. Stay in your lane. Stop trying to sing. Wyclef, Lil Wayne, Ja Rule, and Drake. You know what? They all make good music, man. I would probably, you know what? I know he gonna hate me for this, man, and I mess with him tough, man. But I'm probably gonna say Wyclef, because sometimes, shout out to Clef, man. Me and
Nah,
Clef,
Clef is my dude.
we used
Clef
to
is my
share.
dude.
You remember? We used to share
Yeah.
the A room at Daddy's house and Puppy Studio a lot.
Yeah.
So I would always see Clef. You used to come hang with me back then. I would always see Clef, man. I respect Clef, and he would have like 30 people in the studio, people sleeping on the floor. Like, he really had the A room like a refugee camp, man. But
man, it was crazy.
Some of those singing records, yeah, man, he just a little too pitchy for me.
It was crazy. And listen, if y'all watching University Dope, unpopular opinions are welcome. It's all fun. It's all love. Who is winning in a jailhouse brawl? Is it A, the Brat, B, Remy Ma, C, Young M.A., or D, Foxy Brown?
You know what? Because she's family and we worked together in the past, and we still family to this day. I'm always gonna go with Fox. Inga Marchand, man. Shout out to Fox. I'm always gonna put my money on Foxy Brown. You know what I mean? That's just Brooklyn. That's sis right there. That's family. So I'm always gonna put my money on Fox.
All right. So get a good one here for you, man. I gotta get a good one here for you.
Your audio is chopping up real bad again, by the way. I don't know if you could edit that or whatever.
Yeah, we good. Mixtape Masters, pick the best DJ. A, Funk Flex, D, DJ Clue, C, Green Lantern, or D, DJ Envy?
Mixtape Master, pick the best DJ. Because I grew up on those mixtapes, man, and it really changed the game for me, and was one of the things that really made me want to get in hip hop. I'm gonna go with DJ Clue. Clue, Cluminati, like those
Illuminati.
tapes. Yeah.
All right.
It was those Clue tapes that really got me in the hood.
So you were doing the music.
June, your audio is real bad.
All right, we're gonna fix it. It. If you had to erase one person from hip hop history, who would it be? A, Swiss Beats, B, Dr. Dre, C, RZA, or D, Timbaland?
And that's cold blood. Oh man, you had some tough questions, June. Erase one person from hip hop history? Damn, you trying to get me in trouble. If I had to, I hate to do it, but probably Swiss Beats. I had to, because I was just so influenced by Timbaland and Dre, and then Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a tough one.
Erase one person from hip hop history. Who would it be? A, Nas, B, the Notorious B.I.G., C, Tupac, or D, Jay-Z?
Damn, John. If I had to choose from there, man, I'm gonna say Pac. If I had to choose from there, but that's hard, man. You can't erase that's the Mount Rushmore of hip hop, man. That's like a trick question, man.
I love how you put that.
It is, bro.
I appreciate you playing that game with me, man. Um, Cisco, man, music is a soundtrack to our lives, man. We've created a lot of music over the years. For you, what is a song that best represents the soundtrack to your life, or the artist that exemplifies your journey up to this point?
It's a great question, man. I could probably choose 100 of them, honestly. But off the top right now, if I had to pick a record, that would be the soundtrack to my life, will probably be The Hard Knock Life.
Hmm.
Because even when it gets easier, it ain't easier. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's a constant grind, man. I don't care what you do, how you do it, what level you want. It's always a hustle. It's always a hard knock. You know what I mean? So definitely, if I had to pick one, it's The Hard Knock Life. You know what
What's
I mean?
next for you, man? What you got coming that we can support, and where can we see you next?
So I just started a clothing line, streetwear brand. It's the Unco brand. So we have a lot of statement pieces. It's casual wear, very comfortable stuff. Just launched that in Miami last month, and I'm doing a promo tour around the country, promoting that. Excited about that, and getting into fashion and retail, direct to consumer business. Um, Also, be on the lookout for my I have a tech company that I'm partners in. Shout out to my partner Rob Hawkins. It's called 84X, and we're launching a new social media based app for entertainers next month. I'm really excited about that. And then, of course, the Aaron Hernandez film, which is basically through the eyes of Shayana Jenkins Hernandez, his late fiance and my partner in that project. We signed the deal with Mona Scott, who's producing it with us through Mona Me. And that's something that we're moving on top of the year as well. So those are just some of the things I'm working on right now that I'm really putting all my energy and effort into. Man, we'll see what happens, man. I stay working hard, man. I stay trying to grind. And then whatever else happens with TV or whatever, we'll see. We'll see as the year unfolds, man. There's so much uncertainty. We'll see how
Yeah,
it shapes out.
but we're gonna get there, man. Listen, you heard it here. Cisco said, "Love yourself first. Find yourself in a position where you are not only the common denominator, but you're the owner, the sole person that can make sure that the destiny that you seek for yourself is possible, because you
Absolutely.
chose to put yourself in a position to win." So, Cisco, man, I appreciate you joining the show, man. We
Thank you
got
for
to do
having me,
this
brother.
again soon.
Please.
Follow him, like him, get the gear. Man, you gotta send me that hoodie. That hoodie's fire.
I
So,
got you, brother.
but listen, you're checking out June Archer here, the winner circle on thisis50.com. Motivate you. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all be peace. Be
Salute.
well.
Big brother, man. Thank you. Peace.
Appreciate you, bro.